A lot of people are watching this success and saying like, look at you. But this is the first time that I feel like I'm standing still. I'm available for what the universe needs from me, and I'm willing to show up. I want to live in a world where women feel awake and alive, and they deserve to. So let's make it happen.
Welcome back to The Ignition Point. I'm Sean Finnegan.
Debbie Hart.
How was that?
So good.
Okay. All right, welcome Marcella. Great to have you on today.
Thank you so much.
I've watched a ton of your TikTok videos, and
she's like the queen of women's hormones on TikTok, right? She was just sharing with us that her very first video got 9 million views overnight, exploded her popularity. She's like famous everywhere she goes now. But it didn't start out that way. That actually wasn't a fluke, right? You actually had a lot of history that built up to that overnight success, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yes. I mean, I've been an entrepreneur since probably, being a Girl Scout at 10.
Oh, hey, I was a Girl Scout too.
Right?
Yes. Oh, yeah, I did.
Yep.
And I have chased the success. I've chased the millions. I've chased the building brands, wanting to be like the success story for a very long time. It's all I've ever done, which has been a thrill. But 2 years ago, I happened to share my personal story about going through perimenopause, finding hormone therapy, having my lights turned back on in my brain, having just my whole soul just feel turned back on. And I shared it on TikTok, which was just my personal stuff. It was where I didn't have to worry about my brand or anything like that. And the next day I woke up to 9 million views and women just desperate out of their minds asking for help.
Aww.
And what do you do with that? We're trying to help as much as we can now. So
why do you think it blew up like that?
Yeah. I think that not a lot of people, unbeknownst to me, I did not know that this was a global issue, right? I thought,
you were just experiencing it personally.
My body's freaking out.
Yeah.
I'm 40 years old.
Gonna talk about it.
I think I hate my husband. Nobody touched me. I can't think straight. Everything hurt. I was going to doctor after doctor. Everyone's just like, I was going to therapy. I was going to yoga. I was reading all the Brene Brown books, I'm an entrepreneur.
It's like it's not working.
Yeah, I was writing books. I was speaking. I was like, I'm supposed to be a motivational speaker, and I can hardly get myself out of bed. Like, something's not okay. And I got lucky. I asked friends, like, where do I go for antidepressants? That's why I thought, this is where we're at. And they said, didn't you just get a hysterectomy like a year ago? You probably need hormones. And I'm just lucky to have friends that thought that. And I went to a hormone therapist that was not an OBGYN. And literally, I'm telling you, the next day I slept all night long. The next week, my body wasn't hurting. I could get out of bed without my feet hurting. My body stopped itching all over. Like, symptoms I didn't even know were linked to hormones, like symptoms I had never even thought to ask about, all of a sudden were gone. And I remember I had gotten to a point where I couldn't run anymore. I couldn't even take long walks, just my bones hurt.
Oh, wow.
And I remember walking, probably like 2 months into hormone therapy, I remember going for a walk and checking with my body, realizing nothing hurts, and thinking maybe I could run. And I started running, and I will never forget, like, just feeling like I'm back, like I'm not gonna slowly die from here.
Powerful.
Yeah.
And when I shared that story, I just shared, like, this is how I felt. This is what happened.
You were just trying to share a resource that you had found.
Yeah, I just was like, this is crazy. I felt like I was dying, and now I'm not. You're like, that's crazy. And women were ready to hear it.
They're ready to hear it. So you had a defining moment when you saw 9 million views the next day. How did you decide what to do with that? Like, do I build on this? Is this a fluke? Like, what were your thoughts the next morning when you saw that result?
Well, up to this point, I'd owned my parents' company for 10 years. So I was a lot of people here in Utah know me as the mitten girl. I owned Love Woolies. I owned the mittens.
This is part of the story here.
If you're like, wait, she looks familiar. I do. I made mittens. And I was at a point personally where I was tired. I was exhausted of doing this. And I'm just one of those people, I like finding problems and fixing them. I like building businesses. I like building brands. I like creating the solution. And when women were asking, where do we go? I literally thought, there's got to just be a directory. right? Like I'm Googling, where do I send these people? Like there's some link somewhere. And as I started digging, I devastatingly realized there is nowhere to go. There was no directory. Everybody that is offering hormone therapy at the level that women need it are private practice, and they don't need to do marketing. So they don't need to pay to be on a directory. They don't need to do advertising. You just have to be part of the special friend circle that happens to know where to go, because every hormone therapist that I called said, we just go by word of mouth. And I was like, that's not helpful. I need a link to send to the whole world of women to know where to go. And women started coming together in a private community called Wake Her Up. It's on Facebook, and started sharing their hormone therapists, just recommending. And so I just started collecting them and putting them on a link list, thinking, let's just make this easy so I can drop one link, right?
Yeah.
And consequently, we created the largest directory for private practice healthcare for women after 40.
Incredible.
It's crazy, right? I mean, it's global. I have women talk to me from Jerusalem, from South Africa, from Australia. This is not a United States problem. Like the devastation
it's a global
of
problem.
women's
It's
healthcare.
Global women's healthcare problem.
Yeah.
Because you just,
crazy.
we don't know what we don't know. If no one's teaching you that mainstream,
Yeah.
then you just think you're broken and that you can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
So
Women, I mean, we just don't know like how our bodies work, and we didn't realize that doctors weren't trained on our bodies. Like they weren't even, no doctors have studied hormones in regular medical school. It's not taught. Our bodies are not taught. We can fly to the moon and discover that, but women, we're just a little too complicated apparently.
Yeah. If you can't cut it, slice it, or diagnose it with a pill, it's not taught.
Yeah.
Or
So I guess, after hanging out with so many women, we just kind of realized, let's just do it ourselves. Like, why wait for someone else to fix this? Like, we need this now. Women are dying. Women are becoming zombies in their own life, and I don't want that to happen to my daughters. I don't want it to happen to my friends, and if I can do anything about it, I want to.
Tell us about some of the women that are following the, it's really the mission, your mission, right? And like, how have they benefited from it? So you've seen lives transformed because of this.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that women will come to realize, wow, this is really affecting my lives, is a low libido, because most of us don't pay any attention to ourselves. We don't pay any attention to what's going on with us. But if it starts affecting our marriage, then we're like, oh no, right? And so women are going to their OBGYN saying, hey, I have low libido. Doctors are like, suck it up, do it anyway. I mean, I've done a whole poll, and doctors will say, drink wine.
Jeez.
That's the
lube,
diagnosis.
Just use some lube. That should up your
prescription
libido, right?
there. Wow.
Like, it's just, that's not a health concern. Like, it's not considered a health concern. Like, if you have low libido, then you should just figure it out.
No. That's crazy.
And and that is the first thing that women will go and finally find help for, because it is affecting their relationship. Their husbands are taking it personally. They don't know how to fix it. They're trying everything they can. They're realizing nothing is turning my brain back on. Nothing is making me feel desire and passion. Something that I personally I always thought a libido, and we're going to get into, I don't even know, can we talk about
No, we can.
sex?
Yeah, it's all good.
Okay, I was like, how far are we going?
Yeah.
It's like, what's the limit there?
Yep.
I personally thought that having a libido was something that I needed to turn on so I could like perform or service somebody else's needs. I never thought the libido was like my passion, my fire, my like drive for life.
Yeah.
And that light, like you'll see it goes out in women pretty quick, like around 38, 39, like all of a sudden there's just kind of this like zombie zone.
Really?
And we talk about turning your libido back on, and it's not just to have sex. It is like your passion, your fire, your drive. You want to connect with people. You want to dream again. You want to try new things. You want to listen to live music. Like everything becomes vibrant and colorful. And that's the world I want to live in. But that's one of the biggest, most drastic changes I've seen in women's lives, is when you turn that passion back on, like you find women paddleboarding for the first time, playing pickleball for the first time, falling back in love with their husbands that they thought they hated for so long.
Riding.
Sure.
Going horseback riding. I mean, all the things.
Yeah.
So that has been thrilling.
It's such a beautiful thing.
That's powerful for the woman and for the man too.
Yeah.
For them as a couple. That's huge. You were telling us a story
Yeah,
Right
tell us
before
that
we
story.
started.
Break that down
So
for us.
that there was a man that reached out to you to thank you.
Yeah.
Once in a while,
Right.
I'll get stopped and recognized, and somebody will say, "Thanks so much for helping me." And then her husband will be standing there, and he'll kind of look at me like, "Yeah, it's helped us out a lot." And I'm kind of like, "Oh, I don't need to know."
Right.
You're welcome. Goodbye. I'll take my children over here now.
It's got to be so rewarding, like you said.
Yeah.
It's bringing their passion back, bringing their self-confidence back, really transforming that mind back to who they are.
So tell us about the other, I mean, we heard about the mittens. What are these
Yeah,
other things
so
that you brought?
So
joke
we started the journey. We saw the mittens.
Your podcast is about the entrepreneur journey.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, and I thought it's kind of fun because I talk about, you know, my entrepreneur journey a lot and how I went from toys to mittens.
Oh yeah, I had
to,
one of those.
you know, an
For my
author and talking about hormones and sex drive. So I started this when I was in my 20s, and I think that starting, you know, ignition and starting is one of the things I'm pretty good at. I've started a lot of things, and when I started the toy company, it was like I had no idea what I was walking into. And I didn't have a business plan. I didn't plan it all out. I just started. I remember wanting so badly for the toy to exist that I just walked into a toy store here in Orem. And I was like, how do you buy toys? Like, where do I have to be in a catalog? And she said, well, tell me about your toy. And I just told her about it, and she wrote me a check on the spot.
Whoa.
So, like, people think you have to have all your crap together and all your things in line, and you have to have this perfect branding, and you just don't.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will spend all their time putting together all the branding, the website, and all the everything.
Things gotta be just perfect.
And then they never actually start.
Right.
And then they're like in over the heads in money and time and energy. And I just have I don't know, it just start something. See if you like it.
It's one of the themes of what we talk about a lot. It's the start that stops people. So just getting the start, it's not going to be perfect, and it's probably going to be the worst kind of crack at it to start.
Yeah.
And there's going to be all sorts of problems and failures, but all of a sudden you get more and more energy, and then you get growth, and it's just getting that initial spark, right?
Yeah, and I loved what your previous guest, Tanner, said, where you really have to start tapping into what's important to you. You know, I chased the shiny thing for a very long time, you know, trying to find the right product, the right marketing, and the right, you know, person to market it for me. And if I get the superstar, then we'll have made it. And it's interesting because when I finally start to realize what I actually wanted in my life, I realized that if I got to $1 million, it wasn't going to be enough. If I got to $10 million, there was going to be another $1 million to make.
It's true.
And when I closed Love Woolies, I felt very strongly that you need to close this. This is killing you. It's eating you up. You loved it. It served
Love
you
Woolies
well.
is the mittens, right?
It's the mittens.
Yep. Okay.
And it was just like that sick gut in your ear. You like couldn't even force yourself to go there anymore.
Yeah.
And I thought, this is crazy. I can't just close it. Like,
Because
I
it
have
had
to
some
sell it.
security involved.
Yeah,
It's
I
like,
loved it. It was my main source of income.
Right.
And I just thought, there's no way I could just shut this down. Like, of course I have to sell it. And my soul was like, you got to shut this down. And I was at a point in time where I thought, I trust the universe. I trust my soul. And I remember walking out to the lake saying, fine, whatever. I'm going to trust this. I'm jumping. I'm closing it. I sent an email to all my customers saying, thank you so much for being here. The next 24 hours are going to be done. And that's the day I posted the video about hormone therapy. And
Wow.
a lot of people are watching this success and saying, like, look at you, look at you. But this is the first time that I feel like I'm standing still. This is the first time that I feel like I sat down and really listened to my soul and let flow happen. You know, just, I'm not chasing things anymore. I'm available for what the universe needs from me, and I'm willing to show up, but I don't have to kill myself doing it. I don't have to run myself on the ground doing it. It's just showing up. And I think that's something that I never believed before. I read the books on grit. I read the books on resilience and never giving up and going all out and do it until you get there. Not ever did I read a book that said, just sit down. It will show up for you. And that is a true concept. You can just attract what you need.
So what about this book here?
My book? So I wrote Wake Her Up. And this is a crazy story because when I wrote Wake Her Up, I was really in the middle of my own midlife crisis, so to say. I was losing my identity. I didn't know who I was. I felt like crap. My body was failing. I was really trying to find myself. And that's when I got really still and started meditating. And I was having these big like truth bombs happen just sitting in my empty basement, and I thought, this is wild. So I started writing my own personal stories. And the whole time I thought, no one's going to read this. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. These are regular stories from regular women.
Maybe how you felt in that first TikTok too. It's like, it is for my own personal. Yeah, it's on my own personal feeling. Yeah.
And my soul kept saying, doesn't matter, just write it anyway. And I was having this like very internal battle of saying, nobody's going to care. And her saying, just do it anyway. And then doing it anyway. I self-published Wake Her Up. And about a month later, maybe 40 of my friends bought it. Thank you.
Yeah.
That was about it.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I made the video. And that, for me, had nothing to do with the book. I didn't write about menopause. I didn't write about hormones. But about 2 weeks later, after that video and all these women running out to get hormone therapy and whatever they needed to do for their bodies to wake up, somebody commented, "Thank you for waking me up." And I remember thinking, I think I wrote a book for you. And I had already opened the Wake Her Up community for my book. And so when women are saying, where do we go? Where do we hang out? How can we compare notes? I was like, I have this community I guess you can hang out in. And they came over, and now the community is almost 50,000 women across the globe in the Wake Her Up community that I started because of my book, but now it has really nothing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now
amazing.
people are turning their bodies on with hormone therapy, but then with some of my stories, it seems to be awakening their souls as well. You can't just get hormones and think everything's going to be all right. You also have to wake up your soul.
Mm.
So
Say that again. You went from mittens to game.
Yeah, I went from toys to mittens to hormones and sex therapy.
That's a great journey.
It is a great journey.
Yeah.
Spiritual awakenings in there
Yes.
somehow.
Now, can women get access to the list, your list, or the
Yes.
community, or how
Yep.
does that work?
If you go to wakeherup.co, you'll find everything I'm talking about, the community, the resources, the directory, all of our products that we promote. It's pretty, I have a podcast, and it's beautiful. Women just telling their stories.
You're going to have thousands of women that are watching this going to jump right on that.
Yeah.
That's a great
absolutely.
resource, and you're making a great impact on the world.
Powerful.
I want to live in a world where women feel awake and alive, and they deserve to. So let's make it happen.
Absolute honor to have you.
Well,
Thank you so
It was
much,
thanks to your
Marcella.
wife,
Yeah,
but
that's right.
She's like, Marcella, I want to feel awake and alive. Get over
And
here.
when you talked to her, she was like, you were saying, oh, I love talking about business, and like, that's a perfect fit. We'd love to talk about that ignition point of where it got it, and this journey right here is so powerful. Like, you never thought you'd be down that path, and you listen. I mean, my greatest takeaway is you listen to that soul. Your soul wanted to go to a different direction. That takes courage, and that's scary, and there's a call.
As entrepreneurs, I think we get really stuck in what our product is to the point that we will sell our soul to promote this product. And I think I had forgotten that I am the ultimate product. At the end of the day, you want to live a beautiful life with connection and feel nice about yourself and be a good person. And as much as you might love your product, if you don't recognize that like what you're doing or what you're in is killing you, like you need to be able to step back. You need to be constantly looking at. I don't see me closing my businesses as a failure. I see it as just the next point in my journey. Like, I am here for me. I am here to develop me and develop relationships and produce what I can to help the world, not just sell mittens, you know?
I could tell Debbie loved this podcast. Why did you, we've done a lot of these.
Yeah.
Why do you feel like this connected with you?
Well, just like there are a lot of women who need support, not knowing what they don't know about hormones, there are also a lot of women that struggle to rise as an entrepreneur. I mean, I was 10 years old, and I'm not that old, when women got the right to get a business loan without a male co-signer. So it is still a battle. I'm not a victim, you're not a victim, but it's real. It's the truth, it's real, and they struggle to feel like they have a seat at the table or that they have equal access to build a successful business. So I love sharing stories like yours for the women out there to see that they can do that as well.
It's so important that women are aware of themselves.
Yeah.
Right? Because
all the aspects of themselves.
All of it. I mean, because you're not going to go through a phase where every like 28 days you're dealing with bleeding for a week.
Sure.
And it's like impacting your work.
Yeah.
But we are, and we don't acknowledge that. We watch tampon commercials. They're like, you can just keep going.
Just keep going.
You know,
and
but
also
like,
mostly responsible for the children and the house care and everything.
But we have to start acknowledging who we are, give it like
because if you have a calling in your heart for something beyond wife and mother, it's okay. That's okay.
And it's so powerful. You can see, I think everyone's seeing the demonstration of how real of a person you are, and that you're living in that passion and energy, and you did turn your brain back on, and now you're making such a big impact. And I just, if you watch your YouTubes or your TikToks, it's just so real.
Yeah.
I mean, you're meeting people where you are, and it is so refreshing to see some of that content out there that's so real.
Well, I told you before, like, I don't want to be on TikTok. I just want that, like, let's go be on TikTok. Like, but when 9 million women are like, I'm about ready to tap out here, you can't say no. You show up, because I was one of those women that didn't want to get out of bed. And if one of my TikTok reaches one of me and tells her, you can get out of bed now, like, join the club. We all feel like crap. We're going to figure it out. They deserve that.
Yeah, you've made such a profound impact.
You've impacted millions of lives already.
Literally.
I can imagine the future.
Yeah.
So it's just going to grow, the message is going to grow, and then you can see why it's like women really need this.
Isn't it exciting to think that we would live in a world where like 50-year-olds are lit up?
Yeah.
50-year-old women are like lit up.
How
They're like
it should be.
Jumping back into their dreaming again. They're passionate about, like, we don't even know a world where women feel good. We don't even know. We don't know what that world looks like.
Right.
And I am hell-bent to get a taste of it so that by the time I leave, maybe there's a glimpse.
See that vision right there? It's
so powerful.
So powerful.
No wonder you have millions of views.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Marcella.
Yeah, thank you.
Very much appreciate it.
Thank you.